We have got to begin this hour with what happened on 60 Minutes last night, who just cannot seem to help themselves making deceptive edits. All right. Yesterday, 60 Minutes aired Major Garrett, my old pal from Fox News. This does not appear to have been his sin, uh, though I don't know whether he signed off on this or not. This would have been an editorial call by the network. But they aired his interview with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth about what's happening in Iran. Here is part, okay, about this is what actually aired, right? About Israel possibly dragging the United States into war. Listen, this is what was presented to the CBS audience.
Some normally enthusiastic supporters of the president have criticized him, suggesting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pulled the U.S. into a war that, to their minds, did not put American interests first.
Do you want to address that criticism?
All I know is I'm in the room every day, and I see how President Trump operates and what he's putting first, and it's America, Americans, and American interests.
Okay, so there you see Pete Hegseth defending Bibi Netanyahu, charges about Israel's interference in the war. Well, thanks to President Trump's complaint about 60 Minutes edits of Kamala Harris's interview and how deceptive they were, CBS now posts the unedited interviews of newsmakers as well. And let me tell you, the question asked was very different. That was not the question that Major Garrett asked. He did not ask anything about Bibi Netanyahu or Israel, nor did then Pete go on to rehabilitate anything in response to Israel. All right, we took a look at the Hegseth interview in full. It's notable how the Q&A you saw never mentioned Israel at all. Only someone at CBS tried to go back and change the question to make it about Israel, such that the answer would then rehabilitate Israel, which isn't what actually happened. Look at this. This is the actual Q&A as it unfolded.
You mentioned America First. Some who identify with that movement, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, have said from their perspective this isn't an America First campaign. Do you want to address that criticism?
All I know is I'm in the room every day, and I see how President Trump operates and what he's putting first, and it's America, Americans, and American interests at every level. How long should our bases be tolerating thousands of short-range ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones pointing at our bases and our people? After 47 years of Americans being targeted and killed, the men I served with in combat in Iraq coming home with no arms and no legs, targeted by Iranian EFPs. Thousands of Americans killed. Beirut. You want to go back? We can go back to how long? I mean, the regime itself is premised on death to America. So 47 years, thousands of missiles, and an unrelenting pursuit of nuclear ambitions. I mean, President Trump's right. When he says we obliterated their nuclear program, he's right. We did. We dropped those bombs exactly where they needed to be, set them back. But that doesn't mean they've stopped their pursuit. Doesn't mean in the back of their mind they're thinking, well, maybe we'll wait it out and keep. They've miscalculated the resolve of President Trump. Ask Nicolas Maduro about that. Ask the Houthis about that. Look at the southern border. Look at the cartels and drug boats. When President Trump says he'll take care of something, he's going to take care of
it. There was nothing about Netanyahu and nothing about Israel in the Q or the A. Only CBS decided to style it in that fashion. But you know what? Here's the thing. They do not give a shit about misleading you over at CBS, the old CBS or the new CBS, which has a brand new agenda. The left will tell you that it's pro-MAGA. It's not pro-MAGA. Trust me. Watch 2 minutes of the evening news or the morning news. It is not pro-MAGA at all, but it is pro-Israel. Bari Weiss has finally achieved her dream of running a news network that will be entirely pro-Israel. This is not just me saying this. Everybody all over the internet who's been watching CBS is noting how unfair their coverage is on this. It is not fair and balanced at all. So not only did CBS reframe the whole thing unfairly to be about Bibi Netanyahu, which was not in Major's question and was not in Pete's answer. He was not answering a question about Israel, but they also then jumped 2.5 minutes in the interview after Hegseth's answer to then a question about Netanyahu providing intel to the U.S. in the war. But that moment, an example of inserting Israel into a Q&A that never mentioned it in the first place. Okay, so here again, they are trying to shove Israel into the debate, and Israel's in the debate, but you can't make a question that wasn't about it later with an anchor track. That's what they did. They took Major's question out and they relayed in anchor track to make it about Netanyahu and Israel so that Pete's answer would be rehabilitative of that. What kind of fucking bullshit is this? Honestly, like, forget, obviously, we've got a lot of questions about this war. As I made clear last week, we're still supporters of President Trump entirely. Doesn't mean you have to agree with every decision the man makes. And we support our troops and we support success in this mission now that it has been started. But we have a lot of questions about this war. Some are about Israel's role, obviously. Some are about gas prices, as we mentioned a minute ago. Many are about whether this is good for the American people. Whether, as we mentioned on this show, and we voiced our objections last Monday, we're now subjecting the homeland to more potential terrorism attacks. Remember? That was one of the main things I said, that I was very worried, having been at Fox News for 20 years in the war on terror, that we were now going to start to see more domestic terror attacks, which we had tamped down, which we'd been doing rather well on. That was one of my main things. MTG was on the show. Here is what she said her concerns were, okay? Among other things, she mentioned Israel, so did I. But here is her list of what she was concerned about in SOT 2.
Most Americans are completely against this war because, like you said, the president has made no case for it. We live our ordinary lives and we don't feel threatened by Iran. We don't walk around thinking that in any moment an Iranian ballistic missile is going to land on our head. We don't. Here's what Americans, and I want to read off this list. This is what Americans are focused on. 72% of Americans can't afford health insurance. 58% of Americans can't afford car insurance. 67% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 31% of Americans can't afford their back taxes. 50% of Americans are in credit card debt, massive credit card debt. That's where we are in America.
Okay, so Major Garrett, who is a good reporter, took criticisms like mine, like hers, and others, and asked the question, you mentioned America First. Some who identify with that movement, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, have said from their perspective, this isn't an American First campaign. America First campaign. Do you want to address that criticism? Fair question, totally fair question. Major does his homework, trust me. I know him very well. We officed together for 2 years and have been through a lot together. And they changed that question with a voiceover to, there are varying versions of how and why the war started when it did. Some normally enthusiastic supporters of the president have criticized him, suggesting Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu pulled the U.S. into a war that, to their minds, did not put American interests first. That is a different question. I also believe that, as do, I think, the other people on your list. But that is a very different question than why do we think this war is not America First? And CBS manipulated the Q&A in order to rehabilitate Netanyahu in a way that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was not doing in that answer. Do you understand? This is ridiculous. It's welcome to the new CBS, same as the old CBS. Deceptive editing, deceptive manipulations meant to push their own agenda. There's a lot to go over today. This New York City terror attack being reframed as white supremacy is yet another. What happened now, Jesse Jackson's son is lashing out at the top Democrats, President Obama, President Bill Clinton, President Biden, for using his dad's memorial to try to rip on Trump. Jesse Jackson's son is pissed. Who could blame him? If you guys remember on AM Update after the Reverend Jackson died, I made a personal comment on there about how he was always very good to yours truly. We saw him plenty of times over the Fox News room, tenure, and he was always so cordial, so kind. He knew he was at Fox. He knew I was with Fox. Never anything but kind, supportive, inquiring about me, my family, my wellness, all that. And I believe the son when he says they did not want to make his funeral a partisan thing. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group.
Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced financial strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold so you too can have peace of mind, regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.